What's Zachariah's status, and how much of a missing element has he been to the whole operation, special teams wise, offense wise?
Yeah, we've missed him. Sure. I mean, he's a dynamic player. Obviously, like you said, special teams wise and offensively, getting better. Not a full participant yet, so we'll see how it evolves throughout the week. But he's definitely improved. I think we'll get him back sooner rather than later. We don't think it's long term, but we also got to be smart. We got a long stretch of football ahead of us, and so we're trying to obviously excited to get him back when the time is, but we've got to be smart about when that time is.
You were talking the other week about the kind of lack of continuity from the cornerbacks in terms of guys being available. Obviously, Damani was out last week. What do you kind of see as the situation there moving forward? Do you think Jacoby's going to get a little bit more time?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We've probably more than any position group up to this point. We just had so many guys in and out of the lineup, and it has been a challenge to build some of the consistency. Jacoby did some nice things for us the other day, which was good to see. We do expect to have Damani back, which is a good thing. Certainly from a talent and depth standpoint, not having him last week certainly showed up, especially there at the end of the game when we had a couple of guys that weren't available, and we got pretty thin pretty quick. So, but proud of how some of those guys stepped up. I mean, Prophet was a big part of the game-winning tackle there at the end as he forced the toss play back inside. Obviously, like I said, Jacoby had some really nice plays in the game that was good to see. So, yeah, I mean, we want to build the continuity, but they got to be available to do it too. And so having Damani back will certainly help this week, and hopefully these other guys can continue to do this.
Even with Damani back, you're still down a couple of bodies at corner on Saturday. What measures do you take to kind of ensure you just have enough able and live bodies there?
Yeah, we've had we've had to get a little creative at times. I mean, for a while there we didn't have Zero, we didn't have Jacoby there for a little while, and so we did get a little bit thin, and so, but fortunately we've got a handful of guys in the secondary I think that can step up. We've got a few guys at safety that could kick over there and do that pretty quickly, and I think we're probably a little more well equipped to handle it, being year 2 of this system for a lot of these guys in year 1. So there's some moving pieces. There's things we've worked behind the scenes, things we worked through walkthroughs for fall camp and all that, just in the contingency that this did happen.
What's Christian's status, speaking of the quarterback depth?
Not a full participant in today's practice, but we're hopeful to have him available this weekend.
Coach, when determining playing time, how do you balance what you see in practice versus what you see in the games?
It's a great question. It's also there's a lot to it. And certainly you got to perform in games at the end of the day. All right, the practice field I think certainly gives you a start, and that's where we get started. But if you're doing great on the practice field and not carrying over those great things to the game field, then it's kind of there's not a whole lot of point to it, right? So I think you certainly are going to evaluate games more than practice, but practice is certainly a huge part of that, and it's a lot of times how you get those game reps to get a chance to prove it. So yeah, I think there's levels to it certainly, but you got to be able to go perform on Saturdays. That's what this job's about.
What was your assessment of the offensive line on Saturday?
Improved. I thought we were much improved in the run game. We did a much better job in the run game than we did the previous week at Colorado, so I was proud of that. We got beat a couple of times at pass pro that we haven't, that was disappointing, and so got to be a little bit better, a little tidier in pass pro. But there were several plays in the game where the O-line was pretty good and the skill wasn't very good behind them or around them, and so I thought I was very encouraged by what we did in the run game. We've got to pass pro a little bit better.
Shane played some key snaps for you. What have you told him about his role the rest of this way, just as a team captain, a guy who's playing a lot of football?
He's just somebody we have a lot of trust in. I mean, you just do. I mean, the guy's so consistent. He's healthy. He's probably the healthiest right now that he's been in his entire career for us, and that's been great. I mean, last year he was just constantly battling through things, and it's good to have him healthy. He's experienced, he's confident, and just one of those guys you feel like when you throw him in there, you know he's going to get the job done, and he did. He came through in some clutch situations. He's done a good job helping to bring some of the other, younger linebackers along. He's been a great captain for us. He's been the epitome of what it means to be a Trojan.
How does this year's Notre Dame team compare to the one that came in Coliseum last year?
I don't like comparisons. I understand the question. This is a good football team, though. This is A very good defense, and then it feels like they've been energized a little bit by the quarterback coming in. That's obviously played pretty well for them the entire year and has a ton of experience. And so a good football team, a very complete football team, playing at a very high level defensively. They return a lot of guys. It'll be one of the older defensive groups that we play all year, and then obviously an extremely experienced offense at the quarterback position. So. It's a very good, impressive football team.
Lincoln, we heard Caleb kind of jump in on Saturday after the game, just talking about, we don't win that game with the defense. You made that same point, Bryson a couple weeks ago talking about just, again, the job that Alex was doing. Do you feel like there are things, publicly that people aren't quite understanding or seeing with kind of the improvement of this defense? Is there something as far as the perception that you think people aren't seeing?
How long do you got? I mean, again, you get to that point, and in games like that, and somebody's got to make the play to turn it around. And the reality is, in regulation, look, here's the deal. We kicked that field goal and went in regulation. We're all talking about how the defense gave up only 11 points the rest of the day, and they started the entire run that got us back on the same page. But it's one field goal that we don't make, that the defense has no control over, and then all everybody wants to do is just look at the final score and say, oh well, this and that, and it just doesn't tell the entire story. And so Caleb was exactly right. It's what we've been trying to say. We're not hiding from the areas that we got to continue to make improvement, and there certainly are some, but this is a much improved unit. There's no question about it. And this is a unit, I think, when you talk about the top end potential, has a chance to really grow and get better fast, given some of the youth, some of the new people, some of the quality depth that we have, some of the injuries that we've had that have prevented guys from being able to continually get snaps. But there's a lot of good things happening on this defense, man. Like, you don't sit there and do what we're doing in TFLs, do what we're doing in sacks. Like, there's so many great things. But here's the deal. Everybody in the media had their mind made up, all right? Now, I won't generalize. A lot of people in the media had their mind made up that the first second there was any adversity this year, saying, oh my God, should have done this, and they should have made this change, and blah, blah, blah. And it's not true. Like, listen, you're going to go through the whole year. You're going to have a tough game. Like, you're going to have a tough quarter. Do you respond? Right? Do you show continued growth? And that's going to continue to be written throughout the entire year. But there's a lot of great things happening here, and we'll own the things that need to get better. But people need to make sure they're seeing the other side of it as well. And that's what we've been trying to say for a long time. And I think both myself and Caleb and some of our other players, I think we're venting a little bit of frustration with that, to be completely honest. So I like the job we're doing there. I think we're set up to play really well the second half of the season, and I can promise you, inside these walls, there is no expectation other than to play high level here in the second half of this year.
See one more?
Y'all didn't think you were getting all that, did you?
Coach, what was your evaluation of the wide receivers last week? You mentioned the line you thought played well, but the receivers left a little bit to be desired. Were you surprised they had some trouble with the Arizona man coverage?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the man coverage. We just we made some plays, but we were inconsistent in terms of where we need to be, and we were just a little bit of tick off. And when you do that, and somebody's expecting you to be in a certain spot and you're not there, I mean, the game is so precise, right, when you're playing it at a high level, and our precision was not very good, and so I think that was the biggest disappointment leaving it, and a lot of it were very kind of base day one things for us. So we certainly got to get our precision back and play at a high level. We made some big plays when we needed it, but we absolutely expect more of it.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks everybody.